Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we watch an anime, we come together, we talk about it here on this podcast. We have a little bit of a quick announcement I need to make, and that's that due to upcoming life changes for all the cast members, really, but specifically one, but we're not going to name names, Jeremy.
No names.
We're going to... We had to kind of reevaluate how much time we're putting into the podcast and what we're doing. And we decided we are going to keep going with the podcast. We really enjoy making it. We're not taking off. We're not getting hits. We're not doing a Patreon, but we'll keep going. The mini-sodes, though, are probably going to no longer be very frequent. Definitely not be done on a regular basis. It'll be if we feel there's something we really want to talk about, or an anime we can't do the full podcast for, but really want to have a quick discussion on. So they'll still exist in some form, but they won't be showing up regularly. And we might fill that space with something else on occasion, but really the thing that'll be around is the main episodes. With that said, we need to talk about the anime that we watched and get back into our regular business. To do that, I need to introduce my co-host. First off, we have the gadget to my rescue rangers, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Gadget. Oh man, that was the little female mouse, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that.
The one that's got too much clout online.
I'm not a furry.
Does she?
I'll leave it at
Is
that.
that what you know about her? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Very, very busy. School starting next week, and yeah, things are going crazy. I did splurge though. I had a little bit of extra funds and decided to get Oxygen Not Included.
Yay!
Yep.
Because it's released now.
Yeah. So I finally got it, full release, and I messed around with it a little bit here and there, and
Have you experienced heat death yet?
really cool. Have I experienced what?
Heat death?
No, I haven't had heat death yet. I did find that there were like some places where there were like machines and stuff that I couldn't build, and I was curious what they were because I've never really looked into it. And so
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
look at
starting
that later.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay, the other host of this podcast is the Ursula to My Little Mermaid.
Oh,
Jason, how are you?
Oh, that was like a ship to the heart.
Oh,
nice.
I'm impressed with that one. That was good. Well done, sir.
That means I watched the movie. Doing all right. I rolled my ankle twice, the same ankle, which was fantastic. So soccer was fun.
You're not supposed to play. You're supposed to coach.
Yeah, but I was teaching how to do a kick with the left foot, and I wasn't teaching very well because I ended up rolling it, and then yeah.
So not only did you fail in front of all these children and their parents, and you also
Forgive me for
injured.
laughing. Yes.
But then a week later, when it's finally starting to heal, I go to step out into my garage, and there's a boot on its side, and I don't see it, and I step on it with my left foot, and I nearly roll into like this pile of junk that's in my garage.
Your children's shoes are like the most dangerous thing in the house, and no one understands.
Besides Legos, they're murder devices. Anyways, no, but it gave me plenty of time to dive back in the Skyrim, so there's that.
Okay, moving on. And my name is Troy, the other host of this podcast. Guys, I think I'm becoming a Tarantino fan. Quentin Tarantino, this movie director.
Really?
Never really been interested in his films. I know he's quite talented and excellent. I never saw even Kill Bill, which is probably the closest thing to.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know. I've
Dude,
seen
Even
scenes.
I've seen
You need to get that done.
I do. But I've seen Django Unchained. Really like that. And then I watched on Netflix The Hateful Eight, the full unedited version or what the director's version where he cut it into 4 episodes for Netflix, and it is a bunch of cowboys, bounty hunters, and killers in a tiny cabin in a snowstorm in the Wild West, and it plays out like an Agatha Christie story, but also an adaptation of the movie It.
No way.
Because instead of a sci-fi monster killing them, it's like, which one of these cowboys wants to shoot me?
So it's like Clue.
It is like Clue, but there's no rooms. There's nowhere to go. It's literally one big room with a fireplace and a bunch of chairs, and the whole thing is just dialogue, which he's obviously well known for writing so well. It was fantastic. A little gory at the end, which is probably why I don't tend to get into Tarantino films. Yeah. But I was riveted for the entire thing. Such great acting and writing. Holy crap.
Did that have Samuel Jackson in it?
It did.
Okay.
And he was fantastic. And Kurt Russell was fantastic. And every actor was fantastic. Okay. So let's go on to our anime. It is The Rising of the Shield Hero. We're back into Isekai because we just can't help ourselves.
Not Rise of the Skywalker.
So good. No.
Just me and Troy.
I've had a Star Wars fun time feeling for the past couple weeks, but we won't talk about it. We'll talk about anime. Rising of the Shield Hero, just the first 12 episodes. It is an Isekai. Jason picked it. Jason, non-spoiler review, what'd you think?
It was a mistake to stop at 12. We should have done all 25. I absolutely adore this anime. I thought I would be tired of Isekai, and I'm kind of glad we gave it a little buffer that we did. But yeah, storytelling is solid. The tropes that you normally see in anime are really well done. Like, they don't feel tropey. And we got Troy to almost admit he's almost a furry. So
yeah.
I'm not a furry, but she's adorable.
So that mean the bird is Moe?
I'm not getting
Moi.
Jeremy, what'd you think?
I absolutely love it. It's really good. I like what they do with the main character, how he stands out. In my opinion, he really stands out from a lot of other Isekai heroes. And it's really good. It's really good. I don't want to get into the details. Although I was kind of a little bit frustrated, as with all anime, where in the opening it spoils a few things here and there, and I just would have liked to have had like certain characters not quite be so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I'm with both you guys. I started this literally writing something about the anime barf because I was like, oh, Isekai, here we go again. It's such a refreshing take on the genre. It breaks a lot of Isekai rules. It really deconstructs Isekai, which is one of my favorite Isekais tend to do. The main characters are great. And honestly, in the first 4 episodes, I thought I watched a full great anime, and I realized, oh my god, we have so much more to do.
Yay!
I really enjoyed it. So, what did you guys think of the opening and the closing?
I adored the opening, and the closing was good.
Closing really didn't make an impression on me, but the opening I really, really liked. Yeah. Just too many spoilers.
Song choice was good. Visuals were fantastic. There were a few spoilers in there. I caught one like literally at first episodes. Troy's like, I can't explain that to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wait till episode 4.
Yeah. So yeah. I actually agree with everything you said. I think the song is a banger. The visuals were really good. Could have done without the spoilers, of course. And yeah, so just mimicking you guys at this point. So we'll move on. So we'll go ahead and drop our spoiler warning. So we will be revealing everything that we know in episodes 1 through 12. We obviously do not know, unless somebody cheated or anything, what happens after that. So when we say theories that should seem obvious to everyone who's already seen it, we do apologize for being dumb, but The podcast is called Baka Baka Baka. You should saw that coming. Let's go to spoiler territory. This is an isekai, so we start with a young man in Japan who doesn't dedicate his entire life to otaku and video game culture. He does mention he's a slight otaku, and he moved home to help his brother. So his parents were like, "Yeah, you can move back home because you're helping your brother." So, wasn't that some?
Yeah, he got his brother out of trouble because his brother was getting in with bad crowds and doing, bad stuff.
Right. So I just want. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Oh, go ahead. No, it was me. Okay, then. I noticed that it was strange because there was a computer on and it had an MMO going, and it just like the screen flashed on it and focused on it for a second, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's gonna be that world. But I wonder if his brother was playing that game and not him.
Yeah, he mentions that he's never played an MMO before.
This is one of the things when I was talking about in the non-spoiler section that I found so refreshing is that he doesn't play the world that he's going to. He reads fantasy and light novels all the time, so he's familiar with the tropes he's about to see, but he's not some expert who knows how to bend the rules so that he's twice as powerful as he already should be. And that's so refreshing. That's so different than... I compare this a lot to how not to summon a demon lord, and also that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I kept thinking about them and how much I hated them and how much I enjoyed this one.
The slime one was like constantly on my mind because they're both blue mages, so
right,
really a strong comparison there.
So yeah, in his story, he goes to the library because he's already used all his money to buy light novels, so he's looking for a new one to read, and he picks one up about 4 heroes of legendary weapons. And when he gets to the Shield Hero chapter, it's blank and it sucks him into a world. And so
it's like the never-ending story.
Yeah. So before we jump into this world, let's talk about this character, Naofumi, who is it's just a regular Japanese college guy. He's not a high schooler. He's actually older than most of the other heroes that show up.
He's 22, right?
Yeah,
just 20. Yeah,
just 20.
Yeah.
But in anime, that's like an old man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for a main character.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you guys think of Naofumi?
I really enjoyed his character because we start off with a tropey protagonist of a story, and he quickly turns to just nihilistic and very guarded and distrusting and just does not want people to like him. And it's everything that all of his personality traits that change are totally justified. And then as the story progresses, he starts to soften in these little areas that he used to be kind with. And it's really well done how that's developing. It's almost as if they took his character arc and went backwards with it, and now he's got to get back to where he was.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of, it reminded me of situations where people completely have to change their worldview because they were naive and they were innocent. And that's exactly what happens to him. In the first episode, he's so excited when he realizes, oh my God, this is another world. And he's in a tavern in the evening and he's laying on the bed celebrating like, yes, I'm in another world. This is so cool. And then just everything starts to kind of go south for him. And the way that affects him is more sincere than I've seen in a lot of shows, actually, how main characters react to bad situations, injustices, tragedies, things like that. Really well done with him.
The fact this character, because of events that happen in the early part of the story, he goes into the merchant lifestyle very quickly because he needs to self-sustain. And I'm like, oh, this is Jeremy. Jeremy showed up in this world. It's like, okay, but how do I make gold? How do I manipulate this economy? Oh, a wagon.
Time to turtle up.
That's what I thought a lot. But I really like how he was practical about his situations, but there's a true heroic self that he is now buried under this trauma. throughout the story. We see constantly he's like, hey, you got to pay me money if you want me to help you. But
I
then
thought it was
when
like Witcher style.
right, but when push
Yeah.
comes to shove, he never cares.
Right.
And even when like a certain event happens with a zombified dragon, his first thought isn't I'm not going to get my money. He's like, oh god, I got to protect the villagers. And I love the contrast of how he acts, both to keep people at bay and to hide his identity and all these different things versus who he really is deep down, but that's buried under this trauma that we're about to talk about in the story. Super interesting character. Did you guys notice that like through 90% of the anime, his shield's a book, so that no one will figure out he's the shield hero? I love that detail. It was so I'm like, that's awesome.
One last thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned him in contrast to the other characters, because he hasn't played these MMOs. He doesn't know what this world's like. The other characters are using this world as if they were playing a game, and a couple times he comes to like face to face with these are people. We are protecting lives, and you guys are acting like they're just virtual dummies. And I think I found that really refreshing that a main character was caring for people as if they are other human beings.
It also emphasizes that you can't just run into a situation, be really cool, have a fun adventure, and then walk away. There's cascading responsibilities that come with your actions, and you need to live up to them. Like I said, that really deconstructs a lot of funner, more
Slime
power fantasy isekais.
Yeah, because with Slime, he could do whatever collateral damage he wanted, and then everyone loved him.
Right.
This one, there's like super consequences for these other heroes, and it's fantastically written.
Okay, so let's go back into the story. So he's teleported in with the three other heroes. There's a sword hero named Ren, a bow hero named Itsuki, and then Motoyasu, the spear hero, who will become kind of his rival. And they are all younger than him, and we find out later they're all from different alternate universes of Japan, and they've all played this game. And what's really interesting, when they get there, they all go to the king, and the king's like, I need you heroes to save the land. And they're like, yeah, why should we? What should we do? And now Fumi's like, yo, okay, wait, what? Why are we saying we're bargaining here? So we have... I want to talk about these characters, and they don't get a ton of screen time yet, but they're so important to especially this beginning part of the story, and I can definitely tell through the future. So let's start with just Ren and Itsuki, the sword and bow guy. What did you think of them?
I think underneath it, they care about fairness, but they are in it for themselves when the glory. Like it's pretty apparent that they would much rather be praised for in doing it instead of doing it because they're heroes. But besides that, I mean, we don't get a ton of screen time with them.
I actually thought there was a really interesting distinction between how the spear and the shield are both older, right? 21 and 20, and these two, the sword and the bow, are 16 and 17. And yet, really interestingly, at first, the sword and the bow seem to be the most level-headed, the most prepared, the most experienced, the wisest. But then later on, like you were mentioning, Jason, there's things that they do that kind of, they reveal their ignorance and their lack of foresight and following through to the conclusion, what might happen based on their actions. And I think in those cases, I don't know if I would agree completely that they just wanted the glory. I think they genuinely thought they were doing something good, but they didn't finish what they were doing. Yeah. And I really like that about them, because there's even a point where Ren is really upset when Naofumi says, these are real people, because he says it a few times, but there's one point where Ren gets really upset and he's like, I know they're real people, I'm trying to help them. And so I get this sense that actually, if I was to pick among the other heroes besides Naofumi, I would say that it easily goes Ren and then the bow guy. So sword, bow, and then of course the inexcusable moron. Like, I have no way to justify what he's like. We'll get to him later. The spear. So yeah, I really like Ren and the bow guy. I can't. Itsuki.
Ren and Itsuki. Yeah. I the reason I put him in here is because how much I actually like that they weren't just straight up jerks, which is kind of the situation that's coming up. Is the other three heroes versus the shield hero. They don't like him. He's the outcast. But at no point did I feel like Ren and Itsuki were bad guys. And even Motoyasu, we'll talk about more, I do think they want to honestly do good. They are just young, inexperienced, not as smart as they think they are, having a hard time breaking away from the idea that they're playing a game.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get much more deeper into them in their stories and their characters, and I'm really looking forward to watching them as they figure out what the hell's wrong with this world, because I definitely think something's more than just there's a calamity, causing an apocalypse. Something's wrong. Something's dirty in this world. Which let's move on. after hanging out with those guys, and then they all tell him, like, in the game, people who play Shield suck. It's the worst.
That was so sad.
I got so personally offended by this scene because every raid in just about any MMO cannot do the raid without a tank. But yes, in a normal group, tanks suck.
Yeah. Yep.
But you have to have them.
Yep.
So the next day they go, and a bunch of soldiers and mercenaries and knights are there, and they're like, hey, these guys are just gonna group up with you and form your parties, because there's these what they call waves, which are basically portal holes that open and monsters spill out, and you have to kill the monsters, and it'll close the wave, and it'll happen multiple times, and if they survive all the waves and save the land, they'll get to go home.
If you played the MMO Rift, that's basically the game.
It's another universe crossover.
So they line up, and all the heroes get party members except for Naofumi, because rumors are spreading around that he doesn't understand this world at all, and no one wants to go with him. And also, there is a goddamn conspiracy against the shield hero.
Oh,
you
dude.
Man.
You go to the church, and there's no symbol for him. There's clearly something wrong with the shield hero. And let's not forget, there's a whole town called Shield Freedom. Like, shield something matters with the shield.
Yeah. There's also mention of, like, demi-humans. He is the hero that helps the demi-humans and everything. Right. And here, they really don't like demi-humans. It's kind of a superiority complex among the humans in this city. And so I wonder if that has something to do with it, too. If this is cyclical in any way, and the shield hero has done something in the past with, like, demi-humans and others, there's probably some vendetta against him because of that too. But yeah, I'm super curious.
Any theories? What's going on here? Because the things that I'm noticing is the kings and the church hate him, but there's so many characters who are like, you're that guy, and I have expectations of you, and I hope you're the guy I think you are. The queen's like, if I know the shield hero, which I do, he's gonna be the important one, and so there's people who are like, you're the chosen, you're Neo of this world, and then there's people who are like, you're the thing that's gonna bring us doom.
Yeah, you're trash.
Ooh, do we have any theories of what's going on?
For me, because this is obviously is a cyclical thing, right? The waves come every so many years, so they've obviously had multiple groups of 4 come and serve these roles, and it sounds like the shield tends to be the most dangerous, whether it be for them or against them. And from what the king says later on, where he's worried about losing his family, I have a feeling that the shield is like it's like a Neo thing, but with a time bomb kind of in it. Like, we're talking about Superman turns into Zod and then just kind of murders everyone.
Yeah,
And it
like a
sounds
Joker
like
beat.
something similar to that has happened in the past. So they're attempting to keep him down from gaining power, is what it seems like, because they don't want to fund him. They're putting all sorts of restrictions on him. Nobody wants to be in his party. So it seems like if we don't let him level, then everything will be fine because he won't get powerful.
I actually like that theory. My initial theory was, it seems like these guys are picking on him, and I see in the opening credits that he looks a little different, like some kind of berserker mode or something. So I'm wondering if they're intentionally trying to push him into a berserker mode because they need him to be extra powerful. That was my initial thought. But as time progressed, it's kind of intentions are a little bit more revealed than that they genuinely don't like him. There's a few people that are in power that make these decisions, and they genuinely hate him. So it's clear that they're not trying to push him into some kind of power mode. So I think it's probably more like what you're thinking.
Yeah, because the thing that makes me think that was, one, he didn't develop the rage power by absorbing something. It was naturally born into the shield that he stumbled upon. Second, when he starts going into depression, it starts talking to him in really cryptic language. And so I think there's something sinister in the shield that is suppressed.
Yeah, it's almost like the shield is the opportunity for him to be the one guy without a weapon, without power. Of course, that's going to make you spiral. So the shield is both your strength, but also your test.
Yeah.
All right. I do want to say I love that he's not overpowered. Even if he becomes overpowered, the fact that he's just not this slime guy that can do whatever he wants, is super invincible.
You just hate slime, son.
I do too.
I love that they start at level 1. Like, they didn't come into this world already stronger than everybody. And while he is like you said, a blue mage, he can absorb monsters. So is all the other heroes.
Yeah.
They have the same, put a monster in, unlock a new ability for your weapon. I think that's really cool. So I'm gonna speed up a little bit. He gets one party member, one cute girl helps him. He's like, all right, well, that's enough. This might be my one true love. They go out, they buy gear, they fight balloons, and they then at the end of the day go to the tavern. And she tries to seduce him. He's like, yeah, or she wants him to drink with her. He's like, I just don't drink. I'm not a drinker. He goes to bed, wakes up the next morning. All his armor's been taken. All his gold's been taken. And the guards come and arrest him, take him to the king. And she's the girl who calls herself Mine, but we find out her name is Malty. And she is now
So wait a minute. Is it Malty and Melty?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Okay. There's also something going on with names in this world. I do like the heroes' names are all like, oh, that sounds like a Japanese guy's name. But then there's Glass, there's Malty, there's Mine. The names are really odd. They just strike me as odd, and I have no theories behind it. I just keep noticing, like, that's just a really weird basic word for a name.
Yeah.
Anyway, she accuses him of trying to rape her, and he notices like Motoyasu's now wearing his armor, which she gave to him as a gift for saving her. And so he's like, they must be in on it. So he's rebuked by the king, and they're like, we would execute you, but we have to have the 4 heroes. So
at this point, they mention it's a matriarchy, but there's a king. So at this point, it was really confusing.
I didn't even catch that. You guys put it in the comments. I'm like, oh, it is a matriarchy. That does make sense.
Yeah.
But this is a good time to talk about the characters Motoyasu, who's the spear hero, and his ever constant companion, Princess Malty.
Of course, we don't know she's a princess yet, but yes.
Well, it's kind of implied here, but yes, it's not stated yet.
Yeah. I love the sliminess of these 2 characters and how easy it is to hate Malty without completely hating Spear Hero. Like, I don't like the way he's acting, but it's easy to see him being manipulated. But then at the same time, it's like, dude, you've been manipulated by this girl so many times. Why aren't you like living up to it, or do you just want to be with her that bad?
Yep. I was thinking the same thing. Like everybody tells him, dude, she's bad for you. Dude, did you see that? She cheated. Dude, she's horrible. And he's just like, really? And he's always got this shocked expression on his face. Like it never occurred to him. He just can't believe it.
So when he gets his comeuppance from the bird, I love it every time.
Yep.
The thing I think about him, his shortcoming is his narcissism. He can't even handle the idea that he's not the best, the most powerful here. So even when they're like, "Hey, the princess cheated for you," he's like, "Yeah, but no, I'm awesome. There's clearly that's not what happened because I'm awesome."
Right.
So I do think deep down he is a heroic character, but he's so blinded by his own narcissism and how his ego that she's playing him like a film. You gotta wonder about stuff like the tax or the toll that she put on Loot Village, and he's just like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, the thing I think that frustrates me about her, and I really dislike her. I mean, she's a horrible person. Great character, horrible person. Is the fact that being a princess, she has access to the privileges of a princess. And so when it comes to getting gear, I'm sure she could get it. I'm sure she could get her daddy to buy her gear, especially if it's a matriarchy. So, I mean, the fact that she takes Naofumi to the smith, and she's like, yeah, let's get me outfitted so that I can be a better helper for you, and makes him spend all his money on her gear. And she knows that she's going to steal from him. Like, this is all intentional just to screw with him.
Yeah.
And this is where I was like, oh my God, there must be something other than just her own evilness. Like, she is just plain evil. I don't know what way to better describe it, how much she likes to play with him, especially. So yeah, very interesting.
I think it's
they did a good job
version of that princess superiority complex.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to play with her little ant farm is the way it seems that she views everyone else.
I've spent a lot of time wondering how much of this was just her and how much was a conspiracy that's set up. Because the king, who, when he first meets the shield hero, barely talks to him. He's like, oh yeah, you're also here. But then when he gives out the money, he gives him more money. And he watches his daughter team up with him, knowing that this is the daughter who is such a troublemaker, she lost her right to ruling the country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, all his money's gone. He's being accused of, and the king's like, I totally believe this. This is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the king is like, hey, I'm going to give him extra money. You make sure he doesn't have it by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
and
mean,
Naofumi definitely suspects it too.
Yeah, and that's kind of implied with the duel that we'll see here in a bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Motoyasu was in on this plan, and it, that happened with the accusation and the robbery, but I do suspect the king was in on it.
I do too.
Yeah.
So basically, this breaks Naofumi mentally. He actually gets like hardcore depression. He eats food, he can't taste it. He goes in the tower, he's like, just give me the cheapest thing. It doesn't even matter what I put in my mouth anymore. He is a broken man from this. He walks out. He has money that he hid in the shield, and he pulls it out. He just throws it. He's like, no, I'm out. I want to go home. And he begs them. He's like, just send me home. If I'm so bad, send me home. And they're like, yeah, we can't. You have to fight the waves. You have to fulfill the contract. So he goes out, runs into the smith, who goes to beat him up, and then is like, oh, I think there's more going on here, and gives him a cloak. Shout out to the smith.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
He's not even like a nuanced character or anything, not someone we need to talk about, but he's just always reliable, and the way their relationship grows over these 12 episodes is so fantastic. So he then goes out and fights balloons all night to get to level 2.
I love these balloons, by the way. They're balloons with teeth and eyes, and he keeps lifting his cloak, and they're just like attached to him because he doesn't feel the pain of it because he's the shield hero.
Yep. I loved that element, that touch, because it really made a lot of sense how he was so different. He was more of an animal in that he could carry things around that were just hurting him, and no one even knew. That was really cool.
Well, I think that was an innate ability his hero status gave him was he had a bit of pain tolerance.
Right. So he sells their body scraps, and then he turns to selling medicinal plants. So he starts building up money. He gets some thugs try to rob him, and he defends himself, but he's like, man, I have no offensive ability. This is the worst. And he can't even like touch another sword. If he touches a sword, an axe, anything, it burns in his hand. He can't grab stuff. So then a strange man comes up and is like, hey, I got you. I know what you want. I got what you need. And he's like a pimp / drug dealer of this world.
He is the slimiest animated character I have seen in a long time.
He reminded me of Penguin from Batman.
Yeah,
yes.
But at the same time, the things he says of like, you're gonna be big, like you're gonna be the guy. I can tell, and that's when I was like, is this like Neo? Is he the chosen one? And somehow this slave owner knows it.
Well, there's a point where like after he goes in and he sees what's available and he decides who he's gonna buy, and he makes his purchase, the slave owner is like, he bought her.
Yes.
Maybe he is.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh. So it was really interesting. You're absolutely right. There's something going on. Yeah.
But then also the idea that fate wants you to buy a slave.
Yep.
And that's the heroic course of action to save the world is like, but they pull it off. Yes, there is the main character buys slaves in this, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh.
And I love that they addressed it.
They do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, this is where he buys a little demi-human raccoon girl named Raphaelia, who is like coughing and sick, and they put a brand on her, which means she has to follow his instructions or she'll feel pain. This
magical
is
dog color.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of Raphaelia? Because she's our second main character of this anime.
Jeremy, she's your favorite, right?
No, she's Troy's favorite, I think.
Oh, that's right. She's Troy's favorite.
Yeah, I did really like her though.
That's,
so go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, I really
50% the way she's drawn. Not now. Not now. Later on.
Hold up. Let me clarify. No, I adored this character, not because of her looks, but this had a real high potential to turn harem, like in a hurry, and I love that any romantic ideas tend to be quashed fairly quickly just because he's in this terrible state that he just doesn't want anything to do with anything except killing the waves. But I love that she has her own arc, and she's treated as a real main character. I love that she gets to overcome her own fears and hesitation, and that she turns into this badass sword wielder. But also, like, she follows orders, but she does it more out of care and than she does out of the seal on her chest.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was really interesting is the fact that because he is pure shield, she gets to wield a two-handed sword, and that I think is such a great way to present them as characters, because when you see her, especially in her frame when she becomes an adult, she's still like, you don't think of her as a two-handed sword wielding character, but she totally is. It's probably a hand and a half sword that she can wield two-handed, but I really like that because if you play any RPGs like we do occasionally, or have in the past, you
All the time.
yeah, you always get more power with that, and I really like the way that was handled, where other characters were like, holy crap, she's really powerful, and yeah. So I thought that the way they handled demi-humans leveling up and aging was really interesting, but I kind of missed the development of her psyche. Like,
You didn't, because there was no development.
That's what I mean. I was like, I really would have liked to see the development of her psyche, because she's acting like an adult to some degree now, but it makes me wonder, how much did she really change mentally versus our perception of her changed because her voice changed and because her, physically she changed. How much of a kid is she still? Because the demi-humans, they age according to their level, and that can happen really rapidly if you're out there gaining experience really quickly. So is she still as naive as a little kid? And I don't know. It's really hard to say. I don't know what they decided to do with this anime. It seems like they decided to just kind of go the route of she is whatever age she looks like, but it's a curiosity of mine, because I don't know, the psyche doesn't seem to. I don't see how that could be accelerated.
As I sit there wondering if I ship them, I do have to keep like, is this a kid? And he treats her all the way through these episodes like a daughter. Like, yes. She's like, hey, yes. She literally asks him at one point, will you sleep with me? And he's like, oh, you need someone to sleep with you? Hey, Philo, get in here and be a bunkmate for her. Because he takes care of both characters like they are his kids. But they also, from her point of view, she's very clearly invested in a romantic relationship with him, which I think is well written and very plausible. But then, yeah, I keep coming to but is she 5 years old?
Exactly.
Because I don't want it to be creepy, and she does seem to be acting very mature in the later episodes. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But I absolutely love the character. I love their relationship and how he treats her as a person. He buys her as a slave, has a brand on her because of how this world has treated him, and he feels like this is his only option. But he treats her better than any other character in this entire anime. And there's characters who are like, I can't believe you have a slave. Shut up, demi-human. You're not worthy of talking.
Yes.
Meanwhile, like, he's making sure she gets fed well. He heals her. He buys her toys, and only in combat does he ever issue any orders. And if she's tired, they rest. He never is pushing her too hard. His main concern is taking care of her, always taking care of her. Like I said, like a child. It's really great and it was great to watch her grow, even though we had this huge skip when she goes from child to adult. But it's great to watch her take her ownership of this part of the relationship, even if it's not romantic, and be a part of this team and choose to be a part of this team. I really great character, and reminds me of the character design of Spice and Wolf. From that anime, and dang, that's a cute anime character. I've never said that on this podcast.
One thing I would like to applaud the producers of this one is that when she did grow up, she didn't end up looking like one of the elf girl from Demon Lord. Like it was subtle, especially that scene where she's not quite adult. I think she's like late teens. And he didn't even notice. And the shopkeeper's like, wow, you've turned into such a, lovely young girl and, or a lovely young lady. And Alphabeat's like, what are you talking about? Like, doesn't even realize that she's getting older.
Yeah. The anime is not fan service free, but she is a beautiful woman and she's not drawn freakishly proportioned or anything. She looks like
and she's fully covered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, she's got armor, which is fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So we see them. He buys her gear. He takes her out. He has to teach her how to fight. She learns how to pop the balloons. One thing I love is that she's always at a higher level than him because she does the fighting and he leeches XP off of her. So she's always stronger than him, technically, level-wise. even though the levels don't seem to matter that much.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Their attacks get stronger.
Yeah, but there's like a point in a duel where the opposition is over 40 something and he's
Yes.
only 20 something,
That's what
and
I
he
was thinking.
still wins. Yeah.
Oh.
Which could just be the shield hero. You can tank things twice as tough as you, but
Yeah.
I had that thought. We find out that the wave, the last time there was waves, it killed her parents. So that's why she kind of has issues with dealing with monsters and blood. She's really scared of blood. They end up going to the village of Loot, where they go into a mine to fight monsters, and there's a big, like, double-headed dog thing, which is her parents were killed by a triple-headed dog thing, so she freaks out. But he gets attacked, and he orders her to fight, and she's too scared, and she's feeling the pain, and he cancels the order. He's like, nope, forget it. You get out of here. I will deal with this. And from that moment on, she's like, no, I'm going to fight with you. She jumps in and kills it, and that kind of cements their relationship. I also love the scene where the monster first attacks, and he grabs her and jumps off the cliff into the water. That was really cool.
So wait, one small nitpick there. If she's feeling pain from not attacking, and then he says, hey, get out of there, and she decides, I'm going to attack now, wouldn't she have then felt pain again for not leaving?
That wasn't an order. I think he had to specifically say,
okay.
This is an order or something like that.
Yeah, he keeps doing that.
Definitely nitpicking. Then they eat a ton of food. She likes to eat food. The wave.
This is his next party member.
in episode 3, the wave is coming. Raphaelia is now a young woman, like we mentioned, because and they don't even tell us. They just are like, hey, yeah, she's older now. It's been a month. Yeah, you have to wait an episode to find out why. They visit the smith. He builds them custom armor, and so now Fumi gets like barbarian armor. He's like, I don't want to look like this. He's like, no, it's great. This is the best. You look awesome.
He's like, why do I look like the biggest bad guy of a bandit camp?
Exactly. It's like takes me back to playing Fate, the old Peter Molyneux game.
Yeah.
He's told about these clocks in the church that will tell you when the wave comes. So he has to go visit it and downloads the information to his shield. One thing I don't like, and this is almost for all Isekai, when they go to a fantasy world, but you have a video game screen in your face. I just can't stand it. Like, it only makes sense in Sword Art Online, and I hate it when in fantasy worlds. The only one actually who's done it well for real is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon, where like your level was printed on your back, and like there was magical versions of stats and stuff. The fact that like, hey, I have a health bar right here, and I can see the health bar of this guy standing. I'm like, I don't
create a party.
Yeah.
Slime did it too. Like, I have an AI in my head, and I'm like, how? That doesn't make sense in the context of a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got that off your chest.
Yep.
Yep.
The other heroes are at the clock, and they mock him, and he just gets pissy about it. And then the wave comes. So when the wave hits, as long as you've talked to the clock, you get teleported with your party to the wave. And when they get there, he realizes they're back at the village of Loot where they visited the mine. So instead of going to help fight with the other heroes to end the wave, he goes off to defend the village. And we just get a really cool action sequence of him running around, trying to get the villagers out, protecting them with all his shield abilities he now has gained. I really love this entire thing. And I love that he's like, no, I'm doing this for me, but is clearly going out of his way to do heroic actions and protect people, like doing true heroic stuff. But whenever you ask him about it, he's like, no, I was selfish. I did that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes perfect sense, too, because he's undercutting any argument that that's what he's doing. He's like, no, I'll claim it.
Now,
You
the
can't
Royal
say
Knights
I
showed
was.
up, right?
Yeah, the Royal Knights show up, and they're like, we don't really care about the village. They rain fire arrows down on the village with the villagers still in it, and they mock him. But a couple of the knights are inspired by him.
Mm-hmm.
But the wave does end, and the village starts mourning its losses, but they do thank him for everything he did. and they consider him the hero of the situation in this village.
Can I just say, I love the story where, we're 4 episodes in, and here comes the big thing they've been talking about.
3. This is the 3rd episode.
Oh, 3rd episode. Instead of an entire season goes by, the big thing is now like that they've been projecting the entire season, finally shows up, and then they end it. And it's like, okay, you'll get to see the fight next season.
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh. Of course, I wasn't happy with the way this ended on episode 12, but at least there's another 12 episodes.
Right?
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't think this was made for you to watch and stop.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So in the next episode 4, which is probably my favorite one, they go to a banquet where everyone's celebrating the victory over the wave. He's just sitting there waiting for his money. He's like, I gotta show up to get paid. I need my cash for the hero work we're doing. But Motoyasu challenges him to a duel because a certain princess has whispered into his ear he owns a slave. And I love this scene. He's like, you own a slave. He's like, slaves are legal in this country. What do you want? He's like, that's bad and we shouldn't do that. He's like, I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
But the king gets involved and forces him to do the duel. And what's really funny is the king's like, oh, how dare you have a slave in his country where it's legal.
Right. Exactly.
So then we get the duel, which we kind of mentioned. This is actually what Jeremy was hinting at. I noticed Motoyasu is like level 40 and Nafumi's in his low 20s. So it's almost like a double discrepancy. But Naofumi basically wins the fight using balloons. He like seals them up in a shield prison with those balloon monsters, and using trickery. I love the use of the air shield as a ram to knock the wind out of him. But right when he's about to win, a certain princess does a little wind attack and knocks him off his guard, and then the Motoyasu is able to win the fight. So everyone's like, well, you lost the fight. We have to set your slave free. This is when the curse series unlocks in his shield. He gets he gets so angry and so despaired. A new series awakens in his shield. Like smoke comes out of it, and no one else sees it. He like falls into this self delusion where he sees, and it's shown that he's always seen Raphaelia as a little girl, even though she aged. He can't even tell that she's an adult now. And he sees that little girl being taken away from him and her being like, oh, I never liked him anyway, and walking away. But what's really happening is she's yelling at the heroes like, there was cheating. This is my best friend. He's taking care of me. You guys don't know what you're talking about. And then she goes and comforts him. And when she pulls him out of this curse series or whatever it is, he sees her as an adult for the very first time. I absolutely love this scene.
Yes.
Like I said, I thought I was like, this is a great way to end an arc. These are great 12 This is episode 4. And then like the next scene, they're out, in the castle waiting for their pay, and she gives him a sandwich, and he's like, "This is delicious." And I'm like, "Oh my god, they cured his."
Yep.
Oh wow,
Brought him out of it.
Thoughts on this battle and this ending?
It was interesting to give more credence to our theories when they said, yeah, because he goes, hey, they cheated. Everyone saw it. We're in the middle of this huge thing, and no one says a word. And, and then we come to find out, oh, the king told everyone not to say anything. It's like, oh, there is a bigger conspiracy going on here.
Yep. Yeah. No, this was really, really good. Yep.
When it comes to get paid, the king refuses to pay him. He's like, nope, you lost the duel. And the cost of freeing your slave, we'll take that out of your money. And this is where Ren and Itsuki come forward. And I was like, he didn't lose. We told you last night there was definitely cheating. You are fully aware of everything. You need to pay him. So he does get paid. And then...
And the amount that he gets paid, like the other ones are getting paid thousands, and he gets 500. And he was even going to deny him that.
Yeah.
He gets 500. It's like not pittance. Ugh.
So Ratalia, she wants to get her seal put back on, so they go back to the slaver, and he's like, "Hey, I'll buy her back from you. She's doing awesome." But he doesn't mean it. But he's like, "Oh, also we sell chocobo eggs. They're not called chocobo eggs, but they're chocobos.
Yep.
Clearly,
Yep.
chocobos.
And he's like, "What is a chocobo?" He's like, "Haven't you seen everybody using chocobos around this place? That's like what we use for horses." He's like, "And I just sell eggs." And he's like, "Well, that's clearly a loot box scenario. Why would I want to do that?"
Yes.
But he's like, "Okay, well, I'll throw in a special discount on the rebranding if you do that." I do love that he tries to strike up a bargain with every single person from this point on. Like he is a penny pinching, and he kind of got screwed in the first episode when he was trying to make a deal. Like it went really bad. He was horrible at it, and now he's like the master of haggling.
Yep.
So yeah, they get a bird egg. It ends up hatching. It's really cute and adorable, and they name it Philo. So
because the birds are Philolopolis or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, just short.
Philolial.
Yeah, Philolials. And he's
Yes.
just Philo. Yeah, that's like naming your dog.
Doggo.
Yep.
So, spoilers. This is actually a queen bird who can take human form. And so this isn't just like their horse, but it is. But it's also their friend. So we need to talk about her character. Thoughts on Philo?
She's adorable. And I love. Yeah, okay, we won't get into it, but I love how she's connected to his rage at the end of these 12 episodes. That was a fantastic touch. But as far as like continuity and storytelling wise, but yeah, she's a bit of comic relief. So and she doesn't seem to have too much of an arc, but she's a great addition to the party.
Yeah, I actually really think that she sort of filled in the loss of Raftalia growing up so quickly. We basically get the opportunity to watch what a different character that is kind of like, the same age as Raftalia and in a similar situation in the sense that, she is owned by Naofumi and treated like a daughter. And it's really cool. I really like the family dynamic that starts to happen. But it's so complex because of Raftalia's situation. It adds these elements of complexity to it where there's competition between the two of them, but it's competition that doesn't really work. And in some ways it's really bad competition, and in other ways it's good competition and it makes perfect sense. And it just gives you a lot to think about as far as the complexities of these characters and how they interact. And yeah, I really like her for that especially.
I am of two minds of this character. I cannot stand lowly characters that want to do things with main characters. I hate
100% agree.
I hate harems with lowly characters
That's what
in
I
them.
meant, yeah.
Yeah. And so every time they go to that well, I'm like, nope. I almost have no interest in this character when she's a little girl. When this character is a big fat bird,
It's amazing.
I love this character. I love that she's such a glutton that when a person disappears,
Yes.
he's like, she ate that person. We can't tell anybody our bird is eating people.
Yep.
And like he doesn't even question. He's like, that person's missing. The giant bird's right there. Yeah, she clearly ate that person. That makes sense. This is a character who sees her own kind and goes, they do look good though.
I love her in combat.
Oh yeah, she's
the
awesome.
the fact that she's this enormous bird that can move at the speed of lightning, and that her magic is wind is it was some nice touches.
Well, and also that like, okay, birds in this world, like chocobos, clearly they kick like horses, right? But horses kick behind themselves. Not her. She does a soccer ball kick. Like she does a full front-on kick repeatedly, and it just cracks me up every time seeing a bird do that because it's just wrong.
In the intro, it spoils that this character turns into the bird, and when I saw that, I was like, not really looking forward to that being added to the team dynamic because I really love that I'm the shield, I'm the sword, tag team in and out and fighting. However, once Philo entered into combat, I was like, this really works. She's her own unique thing. She's kind of a wild card to the situation. She's not really part of the teamwork, but she's powerful on her own right. It really did work. I absolutely love the big fat bird. I could totally do without the little girl, though.
I didn't mind the little girl just in the relationship between her and Rough Talia. I thought that was really cool. But the big fat bird, man, I loved it when they really emphasized the kick. In the first fight they had with the new thing in the tunnels that we're going to go up into. I mean, they did like the whole Hitman Skull Crush, or no, it's Mortal Kombat. The whole Mortal Kombat Skull Crush destruction from the bird kick. That's amazing.
So there's a story here. This was we were talking about with Motoyasu shows up with Malty, and they're like, "Hey, we're putting a toll on this village," and Naofumi points out like that. Do you have an idea what it costs to like stay one night in the inn here? It's 1 silver. You're charging them for like 100 nights per entry into the village. And Motiyasu's like, oh, I how would I know that? And but this is where we see like these cloaked figures who work for the queen show up, and they talk to Malty, and she's clearly afraid of what they're telling her. But then it turns into this big battle for control of the village because Motoyasu has been named the new village lord. And the villagers want Naofumi to be their lord because he saved them in the battle. This is the village. So they end up having a race, and then we find out that, Philo is super fast. And then after she wins the race, that's when she turns into the big fat version. So they give him a wagon, which I thought was so cool. He's like, yes, I would like a wagon. That is very valuable to me. And he like starts a business in the wagon. They're like, here's a merchant thing so you don't have to pay tolls. He's like, That's what I wanted. That is everything I needed.
Well, I loved it because when they were like begging him to take on the challenge to own the town, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this for free." He's like, "There better be a reward." And so he's like, "We don't have any money." He's like, "Yeah, but you got that cart over there."
Yeah. I also love how he's like, "If I lose, you can't hold me responsible for what happens." Like, I am washing my hands of this.
I think it's so interesting that when the 4 heroes showed up, he was the one hero who was like, I'm willing to just do this. And the other one's like, what do we get out of it? And then now, out in the world, the other heroes are just running around doing hero stuff for free. And he's like, no, I need a reward. There's got to be payment. There's got to be compensation. I will not be taken advantage of ever again. It's a really interesting dynamic of who they are in actuality and how they want to present themselves to this world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they actually call it out at one point. The hero on the outside, chivalrous and honorable on the outside, but conniving and cunning on the inside. Yeah. There's a girl that says that to him in the hallway. Yeah.
So yeah, they get the wagon. He becomes a merchant, and then the next morning, Philo turns into a little naked girl. In the next episode, they basically try to find this gemstone that they can use to create magic thread that will give her clothes that change with her. So when she turns from bird to human, she's now a little naked girl. He starts selling medicine. He gains a reputation as the savior of the holy fowl.
Yeah.
Which is
her.
Which he
Savior
never
of the heavenly fowl.
Heavenly fowl.
Heavenly fowl. That's
he
it.
never lets it stick. People are like, "You're the savior of the heavenly fowl." Nope, just a guy selling medicine.
Yep.
Here's some medicine. Leave me alone. And he ends up having one customer. He's carting around, and they get attacked by thugs, which they easily win. And that guy's like, "I'm a merchant. I got connections. You want to have connections? I'll hook you up." And so this really gets him into the merchant trade.
I love how the bandits are like, haha, we know who you are. We're going to tell the king. He's like, well, I guess I have to kill all of you.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yes. Like, well, there's only one way to solve this then.
You know, when that happens in other isekai, I usually get frustrated. Like if that happened in Slime, I'd be like, oh, of course. But in this one, I'm like, yeah, that completely makes sense with everything that's happened to him. That is a rational decision for him to say. And I know he doesn't mean it because I know he's not that guy, but it's definitely something he would say to win.
Yep.
We get an adventure in the mine where you guys talked about the battle to get that magic thread. They end up getting it, and then Philo gets a dress. The next one. So after episode 4, I do feel like the stories kind of slowed down with their intensity and character building. They're just kind of like, hey, here's some adventures they go on with their merchant travels, and they're all right. There are some solid character moments and some solid plot moments, but for the most part, they were just good, not great.
It's mostly world building.
Right. The next one, he has to go to a village that is being overrun by plants, and he's bringing them herbicide. And it turns out that Motoyasu went and got them the sacred magic seed from the very same mine in the last episode. But it turns out it was cursed and is growing monsters, and the children are getting sick. And
there was even a note next to the chest this thing was sitting in that said, hey, don't let this thing out again.
Yep. Super obvious. He's an idiot.
Yep. So he takes the job and he ends up killing the tree and then evolving the seed so that it would be less dangerous but produce more food. And I love that he's like, I got all these seeds. And they're like, oh, cool, we can have those. He's like, oh, you can buy them. And he's like, we already paid you all our money. And then you see him carting all the fruit out. So
First harvest.
Yep. He's got really good merchant skills. And I was actually really impressed that they took the time to focus on that. Then they go to a hot spring, and the girls have a adventure trying to get him a present. It's basically just two girls wanting to bang him. This felt very harem-y. I wasn't a big fan of the storyline. Did you guys have any thoughts on it?
Not really.
It was all right.
I mean, I enjoyed the fan service. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
But yeah, plot wise, it didn't feel important. The only other thing is
I thought this is where you kind of get the sense that there's a competition going on between the two of them, and while they say things like, Philo was, I think she said, wanting to be my mate. Yeah. Even though she says something like that, it just doesn't seem to fit. Like, I mean, even Raftalia says, oh, wow, she's thinking way in the future, right? And then Raftalia is actually thinking about, like, husband, more or less. And she keeps saying, if I kiss him, I'll get pregnant. And I'm like, okay, you clearly don't understand this, which is more evidence that you're a kid. It's just so in these situations with these two characters, what I see is a competition between both of them wanting his attention, and mistaking that for affection, for physical affection.
One thing that does keep it from being creepy is that he can't even see it. It's not even
exactly
a thing to him. Which I don't know how I feel if they change that about Naofumi and Raphelia's relationship in the future. Like I said, I do kind of ship them, but I understand your point. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that. But for the episodes we saw, it's not portrayed as creepy at all.
No.
The one thing they get him a crafting hammer, and that's not really important. Just that he's now working, because he was working in medicines and potions, and now he's moving on to jewelry and accessories.
But also being able to enchant them, which I thought was super cool.
Mm-hmm. Which I also thought it was really cool that he winds up making them a nice return gift using the hammer that they got him. It's just really cute. Yeah.
And then he finds out there's an epidemic to the east. And when he goes and visits that village and treats them with medicine and then yells at them for just buying medicine and not actually curing the problem, he finds out, hey, the sword hero was here and he killed the dragon. And then he just left the dragon laying on the mountain. And now the air is cursed. And we're all suffering from this epidemic. So he goes out to dispose of the dragon's body, and it revives when he gets there as a zombie dragon. Philo goes berserk because she hates dragons and attacks it and gets eaten.
This was oh god, part of me wished that they stuck with it, but
I knew
this
the
was
moment.
A good moment.
Yeah, I knew the moment that she went down the throat. I was like, she's not dead.
Yeah, yeah. I just wish. Part of me wished like. I don't know. We always say that though. I always say that. Let the dead stay dead.
Yeah, there's. I had no indication that would happen. There was nothing that had happened that dark. There was no, like, no one had lost a limb from a battle. There was no permanent repercussions to anything yet. And the fact that if you get hurt, you drink a potion and you're literally back to full strength. It's a very survivable world. So yeah, I didn't think they'd kill Philo here.
But he believes it.
He does, and he goes into his curse mode. And this time he actually activates the curse shield. And sets the dragon on fire, and Ophelia pulls him out. Now, I thought she was burned, but she actually got hit by the poison. It's from the poison of the dragon that's really hurt.
I'm not 100% sure, because she said specifically, I must have got too much of the flesh on me, therefore I contracted the curse. And also, when he's bandaging her later, it there's this stuff that comes off as if it is curse material. I don't know if the curse came from the dragon. I wonder if the curse came from the shield.
That's what I think, yeah.
Because she definitely wasn't burned. It almost looks like burn marks, but I think, my theory is that the shield cursed her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think when she said that the dragon, too many toxic fumes or whatever on her, it came across to me like she was covering for him, and they both knew it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's always super remorseful, which, I think he would have been anyways, even if it wasn't his fault. Yeah. But, I think he's thinking that he's responsible more than just her getting exposed to the dragon.
That was what I had initially thought, but the way they kept talking, I had just assumed. I was taking them at face value, so I don't really have a...
Yeah.
I don't really have a dog in the race, so I'll believe you, but... Philo kills the dragon from the inside, because she can.
Well, it's funny, too, because they mentioned, wait, we saw it eat you and blood go everywhere. And she's like, oh, no. I was being a glutton on the red fruit, and it made me throw up when he chomped down on me.
I was so full.
And then she's like, inside, there was like a magic crystal purple gem. They're like, oh, what happened to it? She's like, I ate
it. Which totally made sense. I was like, yep, she probably did.
She would totally do that. She
sees a rock and is like, maybe. Looks good. She spits it up later for him.
No, she had two.
Yeah.
Oh, she had two.
Inside. Yeah.
Because that's what he thought at first. He was like, wait, you threw this up? She's like, no. It was another one I found.
Yeah.
Okay. He can't absorb it into his shield because he's not a high enough level, but it does later get built into his armor, which will become actually important. I thought that's a really cool thing, and then they were like, no, this is a major plot point. I was like, okay.
Well, this is really weird because I remember when he put it on his shield got a skill that had question marks. So then I didn't see it spit it out, but you're right, he had it later for them to put it into his armor. So did it spit it out and I just missed that part?
He said, I'm under-leveled?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they didn't show him pulling it out or anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe they had more.
That's possible. Maybe he just put a fragment on. He used his hammer to break a piece off. That's possible.
In this episode, this is where Raphaelia actually asks him to sleep with her. He doesn't understand what that means, but...
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're cold? Philo, get over here.
Yep. The next episode... They're fighting in the mountains, but they've decided they have to go back to the capital because that's what you have to do to remove the curse. You have to go to the church and get the right kind of holy water because he had asked for like a ridiculous price to get rid of the dragon, and when he came back, he's like, keep it all, treat her wounds, and they're like, we can't. He's like, all right, then I'll take the money.
Yeah.
So they decides to go back to the capital. On the way, they run into a little girl who's hanging out with birds. And the birds run away because Philo would probably have eaten them.
Not just any birds, but the
very same bird she's the queen of.
yes,
Yep.
The fallopials.
fallopian, not falafels. That's a never mind.
No, I like falafels better. I was planning on calling them chocobos all night, so it's fine. This is Melty, who we find out is actually another princess. Guys, I definitely think she's going to be important in upcoming, so we should probably talk about her. What do you think of this character, and what do you think she's going to mean to the series?
I'm excited for this character. She's like a little monarch in training, and I love that. Even though she sometimes throws little girl fits, Mom is like, "Yeah, but you're gonna be my successor, so you need to train and you need to get this done, whether you are emotionally attached or hurt or whatever. You got to get this done. You got to learn diplomacy." But yeah, actually, I like her tenacity. I like her stalwartness as as this royalty little girl. And I love that she loves to play with Philo.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, it was funny because in this moment, she's surrounded by these other birds, and the birds take off, and I'm like, wait, if Philo's their queen, why would they take off? And then she's like, they look tasty.
Which makes me wonder what the normal relationship is between Philolials and their queens.
Right?
Like, because they knew. You're right, they knew to flee.
She's gonna eat us.
Yeah.
It is literally one of the funniest lines of these episodes. I laughed so hard. My thoughts on Melty, I was a little disappointed that she kind of presented herself in one way for this trip. Because she asked, like, hey, can I go to the capital with you guys? I got lost from my group and I would need a ride. And so she's just like, hey, I'm just a regular girl. And then they get there and she's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I was the princess. Which is interesting because now Fumi already doesn't like her once he finds out she's royalty, just because of the dynamic he's had with royalty. But the fact that she's been, because at first I was like, you're being a little harsh. And I'm like, oh, she did fake you out the whole trip.
Yeah.
And
hey,
who else did that to you recently? That kind of makes sense that you would be on guard. Kind of a bad play by her. I do like the more mature version of her that's presented once we know who she is.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the relationship she has with her sister. It's very interesting because she is the younger one, so you wouldn't think that she would be next in line, but they basically skipped over, like you said, Jason, skipped over Multi because of her attitude, personality.
And apparently she's done stuff like this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's just a really, really bad person. So,
but I do love the political intrigue. This starts to happen because of this character being introduced.
Yeah, it really seems like a competition between the two sisters more than anything.
As much as I love the characters of this anime, the world I'm being shown is more interesting than any isekai ever. I still think Re:Zero might be a better anime than this, but this world is way more interesting.
Yeah.
The steampunk queen area, I agree with you because of that. Otherwise, it's cool, but I'm on the fence. But that steampunk thing.
Can we talk about that a second? Because my theory is that we are dealing with multiple dimensions and that the queen is in one, the king is in another, just like the heroes are from multiple versions of Japan, that we have multiple versions of this land that they've gotten sucked into, and there's one that's steampunk and one that's medieval, and I think the waves are another one, and I think that has something to do with, hey, there shouldn't be multiple dimensions.
Is she trapped in the steampunk dimension? That's why she can't get back?
That's what I think, and I'm wondering if the waves are really actually evil, or if they're like, hey, no, we need this to happen to fix what went wrong.
Huh. I don't know how Melty managed to leave the queen's side if maybe the queen is specifically trapped.
The cloak girls also
they go back.
Yeah, they go back and forth. Yeah.
But
so I don't know.
They do have ways of interdimensional travel. The waves are one, summoning heroes is another. They do have.
That's true.
ways to travel across dimensions. But I'm taking a shot in the dark. I just don't understand why a queen would be sitting in a place full of industrial pipes with musket guards, and the king in a completely different place has swords and castles, and it's like that doesn't make any damn sense. And also, she's the real one in charge.
Yes, her rule goes even though she's not there.
Okay. They say goodbye to Melty. They then go visit the church. They're like, "Hey, I'll take your highest quality holy water, like 1 gold." And she's like, "Okay, that's a lot, but I'm gonna definitely do it." And then they bring him out like the crap holy water. And the Pope's like, "No, we should totally not give him the crap holy water. Give him the good stuff. We're totally in favor of the shield hero."
Only after he calls them out on it.
Yep.
And I got such a sense from that interchange between him and the nun that he clearly ordered her to get that specific crap holy water.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever's going on, the religion is a big bad spot of it. Yeah. When they leave, a knight starts chasing them, so they run around trying to get away from him. He ends up being a nice guy, it's fine. But he ends up running into Motoyasu, who again challenges him to a duel. And I actually wrote down, like, he starts attacking him and just destroying the market and like these people's livelihoods. And it just made me think of the episodes we just came from, where these heroes are doing what they want to do, having their adventures, and people's lives are just being destroyed in the wake. And we see like in full daylight, and then the market starts fighting. Everyone starts fighting.
That was weird.
I actually thought it was really funny because it showed how, the two sides of the argument broke out to copy their whatever that they agreed with.
At the very beginning of this anime, the 4 heroes are like, "Yeah, we'll go out and start leveling up." And they're like, "Nope, you can't level up together. The weapons don't like to be together." Do you think that's true?
Are you suggesting that the weapons are the reason why he's so hostile toward the shield hero?
No, I don't want to suggest it because it really only just popped into my mind, and I don't have any proof or anything. But I did remember them saying that, and
they never tested it out.
Yeah, that I've never seen any actual reason why they couldn't be standing next to each other, or if that was literally just to keep them ignorant.
I think I remember seeing something on his special display in his vision. And I remember it wasn't just that he couldn't use weapons, but I think it was to do with the weapons not liking each other, but I can't remember for sure.
Interesting.
But Melty comes and stops them from fighting, right?
Melty stops the battle, and so we have Melty and Malty on both sides arguing. And what's really funny, the whole thing is that Motoyasu is like, "You have another slave? That beautiful, cute girl?" And he sees her. He sees Philo.
He starts pining over her.
Yep. He's like, "You're so beautiful. And I'm so glad you're here and not that stupid fat bird."
Yes.
And then we get another great kick to the nuts of Motoyasu.
Actually,
I love the fact that he's armored his nuts, too. And yet it broke the armor.
I told Troy... or I messaged both of you. I was like, normally I despise crotch kick jokes in just about every piece of media. But for some reason, this was just so well done. This running gag of him getting just completely decimated by this bird.
I love how Raffaele always calls it out like, "This isn't being mature." And now Fumi's like, "Yeah, but it's awesome."
Yes. Why are you smirking?
So... this is where they find out who Melty really is, and they go inside the Smith's place, who's like, "I'm not your meeting place," but he lets him. He loves him.
Because he really is.
And this is where Melty's like, "Hey, I needed to meet the shield hero, and I need you to help me." And he's like, "Nope, I don't work with royalty. Get the hell away from me."
Yeah, get lost.
He tells Philo they can't be friends anymore, kicks her out. But then that knight shows up, along with some others, and they're like, "Hey, we're all from the village of Loot, and we know what you did, and we want to fight with you in the next wave," which is coming up. It's one of the reasons they did come back to the capital. And he tells them, "You have to get 150 silver
to buy this trinket from me.
To buy this worthless necklace from me." So they all leave. And I'll skip to where they get back. They bring the money, and he's like, "Good, now go get gear with it."
Mm-hmm.
Which I knew he was gonna do.
Yeah.
But it still is so true to his character of, I'm gonna be a dick. If you get past that, I'm actually a nice guy.
Yep.
The other thing he finds out is that Philo and Raphaelia are ready for class upgrades. And so he goes to the church, and the church is like, nope, we don't do that for the shield hero. First they tried to like extort him, and he's like, fine, I'll pay it. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, no.
Yeah.
And he talks to the slaver, and the slaver's like, yeah, you can go to this land of demi-humans that called Shield Freedom. And I'm like, oh, I bet that's not a coincidental name.
And it's really funny how like
they
all have dragons.
We learned that other towns have the dragon hourglasses.
Yeah, they do. They did say that there's 6 of them across the land.
I think something like that. Yeah.
But they're in capital
cities. Yeah. Yeah.
He also then in a tavern meets runs into Ren and Itsuki, who are complaining that someone's going around taking credit for their work and taking jobs away from them and stuff. And then they go and start accusing him, and he points out like, I should also mention there was refugees. He ran into refugees that he helped out because their king was displaced, and then the rebels then ran the country into the ground, and now there's refugees. And he points to Itsuki. He's like, hey, remember when you kicked out that king? And then the guys that took over did the exact same thing he did, and now that land sucks, and you created refugees? Nice job on that. And remember the dragon sword guy that you just killed and let cause an epidemic? What I really liked about this is that Ren apologized. He got emotional about it, but he's like, you're right. I screwed up. And then Suki's like, you can't listen to him. And Ren's like, nope, I believe him. I screwed up. I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
And then the wave arrives. They get geared up. He gives those accessories he's been building. It's a mana boost for Raphaelia and a speed boost for Philo. They go and they get teleported to the wave. They defend the village, but the village is actually doing pretty well. It has a karate grandma.
He healed in an earlier episode.
Yes, that was so awesome.
I was wondering if we were going to meet a new class of like monk or something. Like there's a monk hand combat class in this world. That's what I was thinking. But the other knights and stuff point out like the wave isn't ending. The other heroes aren't winning. Could you go and like actually fight the main battle? So he does, and there's like this flying ghost ship with tentacles coming out of it.
Yeah.
And
they talk about spawning the Soul Eater?
Yeah, which is what you have to kill the Soul Eater to end the wave?
That's what they believe, yeah. They must have done that the first time, because they killed it looked like a new that they killed the first time.
Mm-hmm. So all the other heroes are like arguing on how to do it. Like the bow heroes is on the ground shooting up at the ship. The spear hero and the sword hero are attacking different enemies, trying to get the Soul Eater to show up. And he goes out and like yells at them like, "We have to work together. What the hell are you doing?" They're like, you're a shield guy. You don't know. But he figures it out. They get the Soul Eater to come out, and it's huge, and they can't damage it. So he decides to use the Curse series to do it. And when he goes into the Curse series, he falls into like the illusion he always does. But now the dragon, zombie dragon, whose gem he has, is like, hey, by the way, I hate you, and I'm going to make you pay for everything you did. He's like, okay, this is bad.
Well, this is the first time he's dived into this, like,
on purpose.
Rage, place on purpose, and he's got full control when he goes into it. But of course, once he's got full control, now the dragon's like, oh, by the way, you're mine, and I'm gonna make you pay.
And
his armor changes to
this
this like rad, like Daedric looking thing.
Yep.
And then he starts attacking with fire. It's effective, but he's obviously
effective.
No,
it's not super effective. He's obviously losing control. Raphaelia pulls him back out, or he hears her voice, and so he gets control again, and he realizes he's unlocked a new skill, and it's the Iron Maiden. So he uses that, which is this giant Iron Maiden comes out of the sky and literally just traps the enemy and kills it.
It felt so Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Yes.
It was a summon. Oh man, it was a summon.
After that, though, another Soul Eater appears, but then a young woman wielding fan blades appears.
Yeah.
And kills it. This is Glass. Guys, what do you think of Glass, who I'm guessing is, if not the main villain of our series, is going to be like one of the top tier villains.
Yeah, Katana was pretty great. I mean, Glass. I'm pretty intrigued about her because not only is she humanoid, but she seems like super powerful, and she doesn't even recognize the other three heroes as a threat. She's
Or
just
heroes.
like, she even asks, "Are your servants going to attack me?" And they're like, "We're not his servants." But yeah, she's obviously, and then I think that's where you and I like this anime a lot, Troy, is that again, the shield hero is not overpowered. He even has to flee from this battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she changed the game completely when she showed up, because up to this point, the waves are just a video game. But now it almost seems like it became multiplayer.
Okay.
It's really strange.
I have two things I have to say at the same time, so one at a time. Okay. What if in the past the shield hero was the hero and the other heroes were his, teammates, and something bad happened, so they're so worried about the shield hero being that strong again. That's why they're like, no, you guys have to be separate, and shield, you don't even really matter that much. These other guys, they're the cool ones.
That is fascinating.
I like that.
But the real thing I noticed here though is, so each legendary weapon has a gem in it of a different color. His is green. There's yellow in the bow, red in the spear, blue in the sword. She had a purple gem in her fan.
I noticed that as well.
She did.
So does she wield a legendary weapon?
Is she a person that was summoned at some point? I wonder if she's a remnant.
Or is the same summoning situation happening in her universe? And
she's one of their heroes.
There's three other heroes from that land as well.
And a time limit. They have a different objective.
Guys, there's just so much potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing we learn is that there's a time limit to the waves. Because we were under the impression that it would not stop until they killed whatever they had to kill.
Right, because he saw the timer counting down at the end, and he was like, "Oh, these things just end." And she knew it too, and decided to leave.
Anytime there's a timer, it means that someone has an objective. So that means that the attackers actually have an objective. It's not just to wreak havoc. She's there to accomplish something. And she's got to do it in the time limit. We just don't know what it is.
Story-wise, basically everyone tries to fight her with every power they have. The Iron Maiden comes back. The Raid Shield comes back. Everyone's biggest attack comes back. Raphelia's sword gets broken in half. Nothing phases her. She breaks through everything. She pierces his shield barely with an attack. And
he's in chaos mode.
Yeah, and he ends up running away on Philo with Raphelia, and then she...
I love how he ditched everyone else.
Yep.
Yes.
And then she didn't care. She didn't turn and okay, well, I guess I'll take out these other guys. She shot out at the shield hero as he ran away, and then when the timer ran out, gave up.
Yep.
Okay. Also, one other thing. When he went into the Raid Shield, I can't remember when the dragon was coming out, it said "grow up" on his screen. What does that mean?
Well, and the dragon kept saying it in the subtitle version. The dragon was like, "I'm going to make you grow up. Grow up." And it gave him the armor. It was, I don't know. It's very strange. Maybe it's just a terminology thing. I don't know.
Man, there's some cool stuff in this. There's some cool plot threads. I can't wait. And honestly, that's my biggest complaint about this is I know we're not going to get another season for forever. There's going to be chibi comedy miniseries. because it's an isekai, and I'm sure it's from a light novel, and I'm sure that light novel is probably still going too. I really hope this just ends soon and we get cool answers and it's just over, but that's not going to happen. I just know it.
Mm.
The more I got into it, the more heartbroken I felt.
Don't worry.
The answers will just get cooler over time.
Don't worry. We'll get a movie that has nothing to do with the main story, and it doesn't
There you
matter
go.
the overarching plots.
Oh, because I liked it so much, I just kept thinking about ReZero and how I still am waiting for more.
Dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me tear up.
All right. Okay, so he gets, once everything's done, the king summons him and wants to basically like, hey, where'd you get your new power? I need to know. And Nafumi's like, you know, why don't you just go screw yourself? Because I'm stronger than every soldier you got in here. I'm stronger than you. There's literally nothing you can do anymore to me, and I'm just going to do what I want. And basically walks out giving the finger, and the king's like, well, I could hurt your slaves. He's like, oh, no, you won't, because I will destroy you.
Yep.
I love the look in his eyes when he does that.
Yep.
Melty then talks with the king, because Melty's whole thing is to get the king and the shield hero to work together and be on, friends again. And she goes and talks to the king, and the king says, I'm worried about losing my family again.
Yeah.
So something about a shield hero before caused him to lose his family, but he seems to have 2 daughters right there, so what does that mean?
Right?
Mm-hmm. Does everything reset? Is it the same king going through the same actions, trying to figure out how to deal with the heroes?
Or Shield Hero rips the universes apart and then puts them back together in his own image.
There you go. That's got to be it.
Or maybe this really is like a video game, and I don't know. The whole screen's still buzzing.
Melty will respawn.
Sometimes no.
The smith that talks to him about leveling up their not their levels, but the upgrade.
Class upgrade.
Mm-hmm. And he points out they should go to Shield Freedom as well, knowing they need to get stronger and they need these class upgrades. That becomes the plan. He gives them all kinds of new gear, like new weapons. We didn't even talk about Philo's new feet weapons, but he gives them
Wyvern
all like
claws. I love how she's like, "What's a wyvern?" No, we're not going to tell you. The wyvern's a dragon.
But he gives them like super strength gloves. This felt like Legend of Zelda. Like,
yes,
it's dangerous to go over there. Think of this.
Yeah.
Now you can move rocks.
Gives Raphaelia a copy of her sword that broke, and then a new mana sword that has no blade. But I'm guessing
I love the sound when she unsheathes it.
Yeah.
This episode ends with Melty finding him on the road, and just like she did with the king, is like, you gotta be friends with the king. You gotta come back and apologize, and let's make this relationship work. And he's like, no, I hate you all.
And then he's like, this feels like just when I was being accused of rape. Something smells here.
And then a knight one of the guards of Melty's guards attacks her, and the episode ends with him blocking the attack.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're going to leave off, which is quite the cliffhanger. I'm sure that's upsetting.
Ah!
Yes. It doesn't matter what he does at this point. He will be he will be painted as the bad guy, because if he protects her, then they'll go back and they'll say he kidnapped her. If he doesn't protect her, then he murdered her. There's no way to win.
Okay, so that takes us to where we are. Any last, before we go into final reviews, last theories, last thoughts? What do you got?
I think this is not only just a multi kind of attack, because I think Malty wants Melty dead.
Yeah.
But also I think Malty's starting to become more bold with her political maneuvering, because she seems really sore that she's not in succession anymore.
So what's her goal? Is she just a
Well, if
evil
Melty's
despot?
not there, then she's the only one left.
I even mean overall. Like, why the huge tolls? Why the...
Oh, why is she evil?
She takes pleasure in pain.
Yeah.
That's what looks like to me. Sadist.
All right. That works. All right. Should we go to final reviews?
I give it a 5. I am so hyped.
Yeah. I also give it a 5. And I just remembered that in the first episode when he was looking through the book, he said, wow, the princess looks like a real spoiled, rotten.
Yep.
I missed that. Oh,
Yep.
that's funny.
Definitely a 5. Absolutely love it.
I'm gonna do high 4. It probably should be a 5. I don't know, but I know it's gonna break my heart because I know. Look, I know in 2 weeks I'm gonna be like, I'm ready for my next season. Can I have it? And they're gonna be like, here's a spin-off about Philo's adventures.
Yep. You can have it when you're 40.
Yeah, and also the real reason I'm gonna downgrade is just because after 4 and between 5 to episode 9 are just kind of pretty good. I didn't think they were great. They felt like, okay, now that we've got you, we're gonna switch over to the long game instead of let's go full bore into this story, which was kind of a bummer. So 4, but I might change my mind. We'll see how the next 13 episodes are. Yeah, so it's 13 through 25 that we'll be watching.
This anime is gonna hurt you. Don't worry.
I know. But I am looking
Bleach all over again.
as long as I can walk away with at least some answers. Like if I feel like, okay, I have a better understanding. There's still mysteries. I'm sure that'll happen. But as long as I walk away with some answers, unlike ReZero, where I still have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
If I can have some answers at the end, I'll be happy. And then, so obviously next we're watching the rest of this, the rest of the season 1 to episode 25, like I said. If you have thoughts that you would like to share on the first half of the Rising of the Shield Hero and don't want to spoil us, you can leave a comment on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, our email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found the podcast. Like I said, there won't be mini-sodes on a regular basis anymore. Obviously, there's been some changes. I'm pretty sure my audio sounds different than usual, and we're just going through some changes, but
Fix
we're
your
still
mic.
here.
Oh, I totally called him out.
I tried all day. All right, let's go ahead and say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Sayonara.